Before we jump into the details of today's deep dive, I just want to take a moment to just pause.
Yeah.
I want to send out a sincere wish to you, wherever you are right now, whether you're listening on your commute, or maybe you're at the gym, or just safe in your living room. I really hope that you and your family are safe, healthy, and finding some peace in what feels like an increasingly chaotic world.
Absolutely.
Your well-being really matters to us, and we don't take your time for granted.
We really don't.
So, keeping that in mind, I want you to visualize a Sunday morning in the mountains.
Okay.
It's early. The air is crisp, it's cold, and the streets of this small, picturesque town are just completely empty.
A heavy, peaceful silence.
Right. That silence you only really find at high altitude before the world wakes up. But then that silence isn't just broken, it's obliterated.
Yeah.
In seconds, the stillness is replaced by the roar of rotors and the crack of automatic gunfire. And this isn't a movie. This is a full-scale military operation descending on a single house.
A massive escalation.
Exactly. In the span of a few chaotic minutes, one of the most wanted men on the planet is neutralized. Now, you'd think that taking out the quote-unquote bad guy, the man with a $15 million bounty on his head, would bring a sigh of relief.
You would hope so.
A moment of peace. But instead, his removal pulls the pin on a grenade that blows up across an entire region.
It's wild.
Welcome to Zalda Channel. Today we aren't just reading the headlines, we are stripping away the rumors, the social media panic, and the political spin to look strictly at the facts.
And the terrifying implications.
Yes, behind the major geopolitical event that just shook Mexico and the United States, we are talking about the death of Nemesio Oseguera Cervantes.
The world knows him as El Mencho.
Right. The date is February 22, 2026. And while the news is celebrating the catch, we're here to ask what happens now that the king is dead.
And I mean, that is the defining question of the modern drug war. The mission for this deep dive is to look past the victory lap that the government is taking right now.
Because there's always a victory lap.
Oh, always. We need to understand the mechanics of the capture, yes. But more importantly, we need to analyze the fallout.
The aftermath.
Right. When you cut off the head of a monster as complex as the CJ&G cartel, does the monster actually die? Or does it just, mutate into something harder to control?
That is the big question.
Yeah.
So let's start with the event itself to ground this. It's Sunday, February 22, 2026. The location is Talpa. Yeah, I've seen photos of this place. It's usually a tourist spot, right?
It is. It's one of Mexico's Pueblos Mágicos, a magic town. It's known for pine forests, wooden cabins. You have wealthy people from Guadalajara going there for weekend getaways.
Right.
It is absolutely not the kind of place you expect to see Black Hawk helicopters hovering at dawn.
But that's exactly what happened. The Mexican Special Forces moved in. And looking at the reports from the sources, this wasn't a standard arrest warrant situation.
No.
They didn't knock.
No, they couldn't. The element of surprise was literally the only card they had. El Mencho has been a ghost for over a decade.
A total ghost.
He's arguably been harder to find than El Chapo ever was because he is so disciplined. So when they found this hideout, they moved fast.
Right.
The sources indicate it was an immediate high-intensity firefight. His personal security detail, who are incredibly well-trained, by the way, engaged instantly.
I assume the goal was to take him alive, though. Extradite him to the U.S. like they did with El Chapo.
Ideally, yes. I mean, an alive kingpin is an intelligence goldmine.
Sure.
But when you're dealing with 50 caliber resistance, alive becomes a secondary priority to neutralized. 4 cartel members were killed on site.
Wow.
And El Mencho took critical gunshot wounds during the exchange.
But he didn't die right there on the floor of the safe house, did he?
No, and this is where the timeline gets really interesting. The military secured him. They actually got him onto an aircraft to evacuate him toward Mexico City.
Probably for emergency trauma care.
Right, trauma care, and to get him into a maximum security setting immediately. But the trauma was just too extensive. He died in transit.
So he never technically made it to jail?
Exactly. He died in the custody of the state, but he never saw the inside of a cell.
There's a detail in the reports that I think we really need to highlight early on. This wasn't just a Mexican military win. There was a silent partner in the room, metaphorically speaking.
The United States.
Yeah.
The sources are very clear that this operation relied heavily on U.S. intelligence.
What kind of intelligence are we talking about here?
We're likely talking about signals intelligence, geolocation tracking, perhaps even real-time drone surveillance sharing.
Right.
The DEA and U.S. Marshals have been hunting this guy for years. You just don't get a strike this precise without that level of technical backing.
But why now, though? I mean, he's been on the run forever.
Pressure. The political pressure regarding fentanyl has reached an absolute boiling point in Washington.
We're definitely going to get into the fentanyl connection later.
We have to. But purely from an operational standpoint, the U.S. needed a win. And they likely handed the location to the Mexican Marines on a silver platter to ensure it actually happened.
Okay, let's pause on the operation for a second and look at the man himself. Because El Mencho has this mythic status now, but his origin story isn't the typical born into the mob narrative, is it?
No, it's actually quite different from the old school narcos of Sinaloa. Nemesio Oseguera Cervantes came from a very humble background in Michoacan.
He grew avocados, right?
He did. He even lived in the U.S. for a while as an undocumented laborer. He was actually arrested in California for selling heroin way back in the day.
But the part that stands out, the part that I think explains everything that happened afterward, is his resume in Mexico.
Yes.
He wasn't just a criminal, he was a cop.
That is the key variable here. He was a local police officer in the state of Jalisco. He wore the uniform. He went through the academy training.
How does that actually change how you run a cartel, though? I mean, does it make a difference?
Oh, it makes all the difference in the world. Look at it this way. Most gangsters learn from the street. They operate on instinct and brutality. El Mencho learned from the state. He understood police rotations, how checkpoints are set up, how the radio networks operate.
The logistics of law enforcement.
Exactly. And most importantly, the value of discipline. When he switched sides and eventually formed the CJNG, he didn't just build a gang, he built a paramilitary unit.
So he essentially militarized the drug trade.
He professionalized it. The CJNG is known for its uniforms, its marked vehicles, its distinct hierarchy. They refer to him as El Señor, and the discipline is absolute.
Wow.
That police background is exactly why he survived so long, and it's why the CJNG became the most aggressive organization in Mexico's history.
And that aggression came with a hefty price tag. The U.S. put a $15 million bounty on him. That's Osama bin Laden territory.
It puts him right in the top tier of the FBI and DEA's most wanted lists. $15 million is enough money to make anyone turn on their brother.
Yeah.
The fact that he wasn't betrayed for that money for so long speaks to the sheer fear and loyalty he commanded.
You mentioned the CJNG being a paramilitary unit. I want to dig into that, because when I hear cartel, I think a lot of people still picture guys in pickup trucks with AK-47s.
Sure, the old stereotype.
Right, but the sources for this deep dive describe something that sounds a lot more like a modern army.
It's a machine. That is really the best word for it. The Jalisco New Generation Cartel, CJNG, isn't a loose confederation of families like the Sinaloa cartel used to be.
It's more structured.
It's a corporate structure. They have territory managers, financial officers, and their recruitment actually focuses on special forces defectors.
That's terrifying. And the equipment, I'm looking at this list from the sources, monsters, drones, automated weaponry.
The monsters are something else. They're improvised, armored fighting vehicles, and we aren't just talking about trucks with sandbags in the back.
Right.
These are welded steel plates, gun turrets, battering rams. They can take a hit from a standard police caliber weapon and just keep moving.
And the drones, how are they using those?
That's the modern evolution of cartel warfare. They use commercial drones modified to drop plastic explosives.
Like military drones.
Yeah, but it's also psychological warfare. They film these drone attacks and upload them to social media. It sends a very clear message to their rivals and the government.
Basically saying, we have air support.
Exactly.
That propaganda piece is fascinating. They actually want to be seen.
They want to be feared. They release these highly produced videos of hundreds of troops in matching camouflage, all shouting, "Puro Señor Mencho."
Right, I've seen those clips.
It's designed to show the Mexican public that they have more firepower than the local police. And often, frankly, they do.
So you have this massive militarized machine, and then on February 22nd, you cut off the head. The reaction wasn't grief, it was rage.
Immediate coordinated rage. In Mexico, they call them narcobuquios.
The speed of the retaliation is what really scares me. It wasn't days later, it was hours.
Minutes in some places. And you have to understand, this wasn't a spontaneous riot. This is part of their protocol.
Like a contingency plan.
Exactly. If the boss is taken, you shut down the grid.
There is one image from the reports that I just cannot get out of my head. It's from a town called San Francisco del Rincon in Guanajuato.
Ah, the OXXO store.
Yeah, for you listening who might not know, OXXO is like the 7-Eleven of Mexico. They are everywhere. And in this video from the sources, The store is just an absolute inferno.
Completely engulfed.
The glass is blown out, the orange sign is melting, black smoke is just billowing into this perfect blue sky. And in the foreground, there's a guy on a bicycle just pedaling past.
He doesn't even flinch.
He doesn't even look back.
That is the surrealism of modern conflict in Mexico. Life just has to go on. But that fire wasn't an accident. They specifically target Oxxos and civilian vehicles to create maximum chaos and terror.
But it wasn't just one convenience store. We were talking about 6 states.
6 entire states: Jalisco, Colima, Michoacan, Nayarit, Guanajuato, and Tamaulipas. The sources report over 250 road blockades.
Help me understand the strategy of a blockade, though. Why burn a bus in the middle of a highway? Is it just a tantrum?
Not at all. It's area denial. It's a classic military tactic. If you park a semi-truck across a major highway and set it on fire, the military convoys can't move.
Oh, wow.
The police reinforcements can't get from city A to city B. It paralyzes the state's response capabilities while the cartel moves its assets or its people out of harm's way.
So it turns the geography against the government.
Exactly.
And the impact on Guadalajara. I mean, this is the second or third largest city in Mexico. It's often called the Silicon Valley of Mexico.
And it went straight into code red. That is the highest security alert level.
Right.
The governor of Jalisco had to tell millions of people to shelter in place. Public transit stopped. Schools locked their doors. The city practically became a ghost town overnight.
And here's where the timeline gets really messy. We are in 2026. What else is happening in 2026?
The World Cup.
Yes. Guadalajara is a host city. They have games scheduled at the Estadio Akron.
That is the massive shadow hanging over this entire event. You have FIFA and the international community watching this footage of burning buses and wondering,
Can we actually send people there?
right, can we send the German national team here? Can we send thousands of tourists here in June?
That economic anxiety must be huge for the government.
It's existential. They have to sanitize the state of Jalisco before the tournament starts. Honestly, this raid might have been part of that effort.
Like a clean house before the guests arrive kind of thing.
Exactly. But as we see, the cleanup can be much messier than the mess itself.
And the chaos wasn't just on the ground either. It went vertical.
The airspace shut down, which is incredibly rare.
Yeah, the sources mentioned that the smoke from the burning vehicles was actually thick enough to affect visibility at the airports.
Right. But it's also a strict security protocol. If there is active shooting and cartel monsters driving around on the ground, you do not want commercial airliners on the approach path.
I'm looking at the cancellation board from the reports here. Air Canada, United American, Alaska, Aeromexico.
It's a total halt.
All major carriers just pulled the plug on flights to Guadalajara and the surrounding beaches.
And there's a specific detail in the sources about Southwest Airlines that is just terrifying to imagine.
The mid-air U-turns.
Yes. Flights that had already departed from the U.S., fully loaded with tourists or business travelers, were tracking south. They get over the border, or maybe even close to Jalisco airspace.
And then what?
The pilot gets the call. The destination is unsafe. Turn around.
Imagine being in seat 14B. You're ready for a margarita on the beach, and the pilot comes on the intercom and says, "Sorry folks, the city's on fire, we're going back to Houston."
It kills tourism confidence instantly, and that's exactly why the U.S. and Canadian embassies issued such severe warnings immediately.
Shelter in place, do not travel.
Right. These are diplomatic harms that cost the Mexican economy millions of dollars an hour.
So we have the economic fallout, the World Cup panic, and the violence. But I want to circle back to the why. Why did the U.S. care so much about this one guy?
Right.
I know we mentioned the $15 million, but money is just paper. What's the real driver for the U.S. involvement?
The real driver is a synthetic opioid called fentanyl.
The CJNG is the main supplier, aren't they?
They are the dominant force right now. The Sinaloa cartel is involved too, obviously, but CJNG under El Mencho really industrialized the import of precursors from Asia and the manufacture of the pills.
And with over 100,000 Americans dying annually from overdoses.
Exactly. This isn't viewed as just a crime issue in Washington anymore. It's viewed as a chemical weapon attack, effectively.
Wow.
It's a national security threat. So taking out El Mencho is the U.S. government trying to sever the head of the snake that is poisoning its population.
But does it work? This brings us to the vacuum theory part of the deep dive. Does killing El Mencho actually stop the fentanyl?
If we look at history from Pablo Escobar to El Chapo to the Beltran Leyva brothers, the answer is almost universally no. In fact, it usually gets worse.
Worse. How does it get worse when the leader is gone?
We call it the Hydra effect, or simply fragmentation.
Okay.
When you have a strong leader like El Mencho, the organization is disciplined. Territories are clearly defined. Violence is used for business purposes. It's calculated.
Right, it's regulated.
But when you remove the leader, that discipline completely evaporates.
So instead of one CEO, you have 10 middle managers all fighting for the corner office.
Precisely. And how do you win the corner office in a cartel? You have to be more violent than the other guy.
Wow.
You have to prove you are ruthless. So we are highly likely to see a succession war within the CJNG.
Meaning more bodies in the street.
And potentially way more collateral damage. Plus, you have rival cartels like Sinaloa or the remnants of the Zetas looking at the CJNG and saying, hey, they are weak right now.
Let's invade their territory.
Exactly. So the violence spikes because of the internal civil war and the external invasions.
And regarding the fentanyl.
A fragmented cartel is much harder to track. Instead of one major supply chain, you have 20 splinter cells, all desperate for cash, all cooking drugs as fast as they can.
So the flow doesn't stop, it just becomes more chaotic.
Yes.
That is a deeply sobering thought. Now, President Claudia Sheinbaum came out with this statement, of course.
She has to.
Right. She said the state is in control, that the institutions are strong. We just want to report what was said to give you the full picture.
Right.
But when you're looking at a burning OXXO and hearing gunfire, the state is in control feels like a slogan, not reality.
There's a massive disconnect. The government is celebrating a tactical victory, we got the guy. But the people on the ground are suffering a strategic defeat. We lost our safety.
It really makes you wonder about the whole strategy. We've been doing this kingpin thing for decades.
We have.
We hunted Escobar, we hunted Chapo, now Mencho, and the drugs just keep flowing.
It raises the most important question for you listening to Chew On. We treat this like a Hollywood movie, where if you kill the villain, the credits roll and everyone is happy.
Yeah.
But the drug trade isn't a movie, it's a market.
Supply and demand.
Exactly. As long as the demand exists in the US and Europe, and as long as the corruption networks exist to facilitate the movement,
The system survives.
yes. El Mencho was just the CEO, the board of directors, the logistics, the money laundering, the actual demand that is still fully operational.
So we might have just fired the CEO, but the factory is still running 3 shifts a day.
And the new applicants for the CEO job are lining up right now. And they are likely younger, more violent, and far less predictable than Mencho ever was.
So just to recap what we've unpacked today. A surgical special forces raid into Palpa successfully ended the reign of El Mencho. But that tactical success triggered a massive fiery backlash across 6 states.
Right.
It paralyzed the economy of a major World Cup host city and grounded international flights.
And we are likely standing at the precipice of a violent power struggle that could reshape the Mexican criminal landscape for the next decade.
It's a lot to process, but that's exactly why we do these deep dives, to look past the mission accomplished banners and see the reality on the ground.
The reality is that the name on the most wanted poster changes, but the game remains exactly the same.
Look, if this deep dive gave you a better understanding of what's actually happening behind the headlines, please do us a favor. Subscribe to Zalva channel right now. We're committed to bringing you these unfiltered analyses.
Yes, please do.
And seriously, click the like button and share this with a friend. Maybe someone who thinks the war on drugs is as simple as catching the bad guy. Your engagement helps us keep the lights on and the research going.
Stay skeptical, stay safe, and keep asking what happens next.
Thanks for listening to Zalva channel. We'll see you in the next deep dive. Goodbye.